Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you today? Glad you can make it to the channel. Today is the 21st of April. It's a Tuesday. And as I told you on the last video, if everything goes right, I'll talk about my three trials that I felt that I had to go through for ever since last April. And I'm not going to be able to talk about that at all because the one trial that I went through is not accomplished yet. So there's no sense in me getting into any of it until I get everything finalized. And once I get that finalized, I'll tell you my whole story. So until then, what's there to talk about today? Well, we certainly are not going to talk about the COVID-19 because we all heard enough of that. We need to talk about something that is maybe a little exciting, talk about something that maybe I know about that I can maybe show a little bit of light in your life. So, I don't know. I mean, not everybody's going to be into what I was into in my days, but there's a lot of stories I can go into and talk about that might interest some of you guys, and some of you might just turn me right off and go to another channel. I don't know, but let's give it a try. Anyways, I don't imagine there's many of you guys that are into drag racing, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then I'll go into maybe something else. But I just want to cover a little bit on that sport and how I got involved with drag racing. And I'll try to make it short, but it's always hard to make it short because one thing leads to another, but I'll try my best. But anyways, getting involved with drag racing, it all started where I married my first wife. We decided to try something new. And we heard about Great Lakes Dragway up at Union Grove, which is 30 miles from the house. And I says, let's try that, but if we're going to go, we need to take somebody with. So I took my brother and his wife, and the tickets were kind of high. They didn't like the price of the tickets, and didn't seem like they're too much excited about going, but they went anyway. So we went there and checked it out, and oh man, was it ever fun. They liked it, and we liked it. It was incredible. They had stuff there that you would not believe, and you could not get away with it today if you put the same show on because of safety reasons. But anyways, we went there and we watched a lot of fast cars that I never dreamed of. I mean, whoever dreamed of going 225 miles an hour down the track at that time? Never dreamed of it. So when they took off, I mean, it was loud. I mean, it was super loud. And we were half track when we sat down. And we didn't even know how to get in the pits. You weren't allowed in the pits back then. You had to pay an extra $10 to go back in the pits. Then later on, they had one flat price, and then you got back. Everybody got in the pits. So we didn't have the pit pass, so we sat half track and we watched it. And I got a little bit scared because they had this ramp sitting in front of us, and I don't know what the ramp was all about. They had all these cars lined up. They're vertical. There's like 20 cars, and they're touching each other. And I kind of had an idea what that was going to be. There's going to be a car that's going to jump over the ramp and land right on top of them, or they're going to try to jump the whole kit and caboodle and land on all four and survive it. I had no idea what it was all about. And then they had this dragon that was out on the track driving around. And then they parked it and sat. I didn't even know what that was all about. And we never bothered to study what was going on that weekend. We just went and paid for our tickets when we got there. So we had no idea what to expect. So we got there and watched the race, and it was just spectacular. And we got to watch the guy jump the ramp, and he got the car going, and they had some kind of explosion in the back of the car, and whatever was in there, some kind of explosive material that would blow the back end up at the right time when he made his jump. So he's going over the ramp, and then the back end would blow up, and then he'd go straight down and pile drive right into all those cars. And when you looked at it, you say, oh my goodness, who in their right mind would do something like that? And then everybody came running out, that was on the team, and then they got the guy out, and it took about 4 to 5 minutes before they got him out. And I don't know if he was knocked out or what, but maybe it was part of the act. They do it all the time. They got him out, and he waved to the crowd, no problem. So that was one of them. And then they had the dragon, which was nothing more than not a backhoe, it was an excavator. And the excavator would it was all decked out like a dragon. And they put a lot of time and effort in it. And that Broadway Bob owned that. That was his. He owned the drag strip. And that was his machine. And he had it all rigged up with propane tubes that would run up to the face and it come out the nostrils and blow a flame out the nostrils. And then he would take that mouth and he'd operate it with the sticks inside, and then he'd grab a car and he'd pick it up and let it go on the ground and smash. Then he'd take it and he'd bend it over and fold it over, and he'd crush it, and he'd rip the car apart. And when he got it ripped in two, then that was the end, and it was over. And it took him a good 20-minute show to rip that car to shreds. It was really cool. I really enjoyed that. And if that wasn't bad enough, they had what called the Wheelie Boys. And they're a group of motorcyclists that would just tear their bikes up, just tear them up. And they were crotch rockets, we called them at that time. And they would actually go down the track doing a wheelie wide open all the way to the end and come back. And then they'd sit in front of the stage and they'd do donuts right in front of you, circle after circle, and you couldn't even see the bike. They'd just smoke and smoke and smoke. Then they'd have a guy that would totally do a burnout right in front of you until the tire blew up. He'd sit there and just wind that thing up, and he'd be burning that tire until the tire just blew completely off. And they'd do stunts that were unreal. They'd put the bike on the front tire, and they'd go down the track on their front tire, and all kinds of crazy stuff. They had, like, I don't know, 6 or 8 people. Then they had a woman, and she'd stand on the back of the bike along with the guy driving. He put his feet over the top of the handlebars, and he'd be sitting on the handlebars, driving a wheelie, going down the track on the handlebars. And that particular scene, the woman wasn't on there, but they had one where the woman was on the back and the guy was driving at the same time, and it was just crazy, So they put on a really good show, but you don't see any of that no more. You don't see any of that when you go there now. And that's kind of why we don't even go anymore. That's why I don't go, because it's not worth it. Because now you go there and they got the Chicago Wise Guys, and every Labor Day you go there, it seems like it's the Chicago Wise Guys. It's the same show every year. They did away with all the good stuff. And yeah, they built a new track. The track is safe. and it's a good show. But when you go on Labor Day and you pay, at that time it was $25 a ticket. Now it's probably $35 a ticket, maybe even more. I don't know. But they're not giving you anything for your money. You see nostalgic cars race, and you see what they call nitro. They're not running 98% nitro. There's no way they could, because it'd be way too potent. They're only allowed to go under 200 miles an hour at that track, because they got a pile of tires at the end for the stop, and then there's a highway that goes across. Well, they got to be able to stop with their chutes, the parachutes. And I don't know, I just got to where I didn't even want to go anymore. And then they got Byron, Illinois, and I checked that out, and all they're doing is they're taking the Union Grove show and they're just moving it over to Byron. So now you want to go to Byron, you're seeing the same exact duplicate of what you've seen at Great Lakes. So I just got to the point where I don't even bother with it, I mean, you see it once, you've seen it 1,000 times. So that's my opinion on that one. And then I got involved with going one step further. My wife and I decided to ask a few questions when we were at Great Lakes. Where do you go to see the big boys? You talk about top fuel dragsters? I said, yep. He said, well, you got to go to Joliet. I said, where's Joliet? And he said, the south side of Chicago. I said, well, that ain't too bad. So we decided to buy tickets and go. Well, that was bad, because instead of taking the right route down there, we took it right through Chicago. And man, that was a mistake, because you're going through a period of time where it's nothing but stop and go and bumper to bumper traffic, and it's just unbelievable. And it got to a point where it took us, I don't know, 4 hours to get to Joliet from home that first time we went. And I said, there's got to be a better way. So then after a while, second year we took 39 down to 80, and then 80 over to, we took it east, 80 east over to right to Joliet. We were right there. And we cut off, we went probably an extra 50, 60 miles, but we cut off 2 hours worth of travel time. We were there in 2 hours. So we always went that way. We took 39 down to 80, and then 80 over to Joliet. So that worked out good. So we went there, I don't know, half a dozen times, and then we decided to quit going. But I'm telling you, the difference between seeing nostalgic cars to your NHRA top fuel cars, there is such a big difference that it is just unbelievable. I remember the first time we went, we ended up going there, and we got parked way off in the distance. We had to walk about a mile to get to our seat. And the seat we had was like 4 rows from the bottom, and it was not a very good seat. You don't ever want to get 4 rows down to the bottom, because you got too many people walking in front. And then you can't see the other side of the starting line. The other side of the starting line, you can't see the car very good. So you got to get up at least 15 rows to see both cars real good. So we decided we're going to go up 15 rows, and that'd be the perfect spot. But we were on the wrong side of the track. We were on the north side. We should have been on the south side. The south side is where the pits are. They're right there. And if you got a handicap sticker, you can get right in the handicap spot. You're right next to your seat. So once we got that, because my wife had a handicap sticker, not a sticker, but a thing you hang on your mirror. And we didn't even know about the handicap parking until we asked, or they told us about it. And it was an extra $20 to get that, get that privilege. And the second time we went, we got that, and you had to go to a special tent to get your tickets. And we had a hard time finding our tickets, so we spent a good hour trying to hunt down our tickets. You had to pick up your tickets when you got there. So we came in with our name and our driver's license, and we finally got it. And they showed us where to park, and we were right there. So it went really good. And then we got there first time in our life, and of course, this is after we're on the south side, but I forgot to tell you on the north side, when we got there the first year, what was cool about it is we didn't really know any race drivers, you know. We knew John Force, of course, you know. We knew that guy. We knew a couple other ones because we used to watch it on ESPN, you know. And we ended up where the first time we got there, I got ahead of my story. The first time we got there, Pro Stock came out, and Craig Anderson, and he flipped his car upside down and landed on the roof and slid down the track, and my wife got, you know, to where she was, she couldn't believe her eyes, you know, and I think it got to her a little bit, and he came out okay, not a problem. But it's something that she never seen in her life, and she got so excited about it that that's her number one person, you know, that she really liked a lot. So we ended up going up to Brainerd, Wisconsin. I'm getting ahead of the story. I don't want to talk forever on it, but we ended up Brainerd, Wisconsin, and we took in that show, and Craig Anderson happened to be there, and she was a little bit shy to say anything, and I went up to Craig, and I seen him at his car. He's getting ready to take off, and before he got to his car, I stopped, and I says, "Can I get a signature from you?" He says, "Sure, not a problem." I says, "My wife's a great fan of yours." I says, "She remembers you when you flipped your car over in Chicago." "Yeah," he says, "that was a bad night." He says, "I hope I can win up here." And I said, "Well, I wish you a lot of luck." And he signed it, and I still got the photo. And Jason Line was his other partner that was racing with him. He's on the same team. It's a two-man team. And got his signature too. We got a lot of signatures, you know, a lot of signatures. You know, so yeah, drag racing was kind of our life, you know. We really enjoyed it a lot, watched it every Sunday. And then we got out of it. My wife totally got out of it. You know, it's like she didn't care about it anymore. I think it had something to do with she felt like she was being pushed aside because, you know, she had gotten a heart attack that affected, you know, going to that kind of stuff because, you know, when you're at them races, I mean, you're sitting with no shade at all. And if your blood is thin, you know, she got 2 stents put in, you know, and she's on blood thinners and that, and it's really rough to sit in the bleachers from 10 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. Sure, you get out of the stands and you walk around the pits and all that, but there's no shade anywhere. And the temperatures at that time were like in the 90s. So it was okay before she had her heart attack, but then when she had her heart attack, it's like I didn't want to put her through that agony of, you know, in that heat and stuff, and it probably was the wrong thing to do. You know, I wish I wouldn't have. It's like I almost pushed her aside, you might say, and I feel bad about it, but there's nothing I can do anymore about it. So all I can say is it was really good times we had going there, and uh, got to see a lot of people, a lot of good drivers. Got to meet a lot of them. Got to see them on TV. When we got home after qualifying Sunday, we turned the TV on and we got to see the race. And we knew who was going to be up. We knew who qualified because we always went on. I mean, they're already qualified already on Friday night already. We went on Friday night because Friday is the most exciting because they're testing the track. They have no idea what the track is going to do. So you've seen a lot of activity, a lot of failures, overpowered motors, that would disintegrate because too much power. Track was either too warm or too cold, and it had an effect on how the tires would bite in. Sometimes they're overpowered, sometimes they're underpowered. And then usually the second run they had it all dialed in, and usually the second run of the night is when it got exciting because they knew from their very first run during the day, they knew just how to dial that motor in and they could get that thing down the track. And then there's very few failures. I've got it on film and you can watch it. It's on my playlist. And that's the videos that she took. It's done with a kind of a chintzy camera, but we got some footage on it. But that was the good old days. Now we're sitting here with nothing to do. So thought I'd bring this to you. It's I didn't want to get too long-winded with it, and it's a great sport for me. Thought I'd share it with you, and I could go on and on about it, but no sense doing it. Maybe a lot of you guys ain't into it, but I got nothing better than to tell stories, right now, because I can't get outside, and I can get outside, but it don't do you any good because you can't go anywhere because you might end up with public relations that you don't even know what the rules are. I don't know if we're even allowed to be in the parks, and I'm not going to chance it. So, got all my grocery shopping done this morning, and that they're doing that was really weird. Really weird. Everybody you see has got a mask on, and this time I put rubber gloves on, and hopefully it all works out, and I'm free again for another 2 weeks. But isn't that something, who would ever dream that we'd come to this? Never dreamed. Go from having a good time drag racing to wearing a mask to survive. Unbelievable. Well, we must be all doing something wrong down here on this earth, so God's pretty mad at us right now. And we got to do a lot of praying, a lot of asking for forgiveness. And that's the only thing that's going to save us. Because after this coronavirus is over, we go to the next phase. And that's not going to be pretty. And then we go to the third phase. And it's even going to be worse. Then they say there might be a rebound on this too. So there's no end in sight on this thing. All we can do is pray. So, guys, you have a blessed day. You get down on your knees and say a prayer. Ask God for forgiveness. And ask Him to get rid of this terrible, invisible enemy that is floating around throughout the whole world. And ask for protection. And I think that will do some good. So guys, I'll let you go. Been chatting long enough. I hope you enjoyed the story. It's a little different than talking about COVID-19. I think you guys heard enough of that stuff. Pretty well sick of it by now, I imagine. So I thought I'd bring you my drag racing story on how I got involved with that. So you guys take care and God bless. And if you're brand new to my channel, please subscribe. And if you don't want to hit the like button or you want to bypass that, what means the most to me more than anything is if you leave a comment, just say, put a happy face on it or something. Because right next to your happy face, I'll see your thumbnail on who you are, and then I know who actually visited my channel. Rather than just look at my views, at least I know who actually was there. And then what I'll do, if you're a creator, I'll do a shout out for you. Okay? So yeah, leave those comments. That way I can tell who you are. You don't have to say much. And really appreciate it. So guys, take care. God bless, and we'll see you next week. All right? Goodbye.